Snowflight by Andrew York is a wonderful piece of music for us to work on. First of all, I highly recommend purchase the score. It's one of the works included in Andrew York's 8 Discernments for Classical Guitar, published by Guitar Solo Publications. It is very inexpensive, a very worthwhile investment. So, Snowflight is a wonderful right-hand arpeggio study for us to work on. The entire piece uses a PIM arpeggio. So right away, the first element that we're going to want to address in learning this piece is practicing the very straightforward thumb, index, middle arpeggio. So what I might suggest is start out with putting your thumb on the 5th string of the guitar, your index finger on the 3rd string of the guitar, and your M finger on the 2nd string. And practice keeping a very, very steady 3-note arpeggio. P, I, M, P, I, M, P, I, M. What this will help us with is to really keep very strict evenness and balance with this arpeggio. Over time, you can practice speeding up the arpeggio, move the thumb from string to string, and even moving index and middle from the 2nd and 3rd strings to the 1st and 2nd. However you practice it, it's going to help you to focus on getting independence between thumb, index, and middle, and really keep that arpeggio very even. The left hand of this piece has been composed with such skill to provide very fluid chord changes. So if we take a look, even at the first phrase, we go from what outlines a C major 7 chord to what outlines a D chord with a suspension to what outlines an E minor chord. So we basically have one finger that will move to maintain each of these chord changes. In addition, we have the opportunity to plan ahead in order to make those chord changes as legato, as smooth as possible. So if I play the first line of the piece, when I play the first chord, I'm preparing my second finger to get to the second chord. When I move to the third chord, I'm just doing a quick movement of that second finger from the third string to the fourth string in order to smooth out the change. So these changes have been really well thought through and again composed with a lot of plan and care for the performer. As you build up skill with this piece, you can practice going faster because the connections will be easier. The second line mirrors the first line. It starts out identical with this same C-shaped chord. The right hand of the arpeggio changes. We play the fifth string, second string, and first string. The second chord also mirrors that parallel change. And then for the third chord, we go right back to our little E minor chord, but again, we're playing 4-2-1 instead of 4-3-2 as we did in the first line. The next section maintains index and middle on the top two strings, but we have a bass line that moves from F sharp to G to A, back to G, back to F sharp. When we get to the third chord, this A chord, we take an A minor shape by adding our first finger as well on the C. So we have the next chord is a variation of a C and then a D. The whole first section. We then repeat that entire section. Let's take a look at the next phrase. The next phrase is based around some, again, very simple chord changes where the change is going to be one note at a time. So it'll make it easy for us to connect these patterns. The first chord we have, we're going to play an arpeggio on strings 5, 4, and 3. And we hold down the B note on the fifth string with our second finger. The chord that follows is the low part of a C major chord. But all we need are the notes on strings 5, 4, and 3. The next chord asks us to take this shape and move from C to D on that fifth string and from E to F sharp on the fourth string. So we take the shape and just slide it up 2 frets. So we have then we go back to material from the beginning of the piece. So, if we pick up where we just left off with our second finger on E on the fourth string, the next chord shape has our E on the fourth string, an open B, and G with our pinky on the first string. The good news is that the next chord is this same shape, only moved down to the next lower sounding frets. So E goes to D sharp, G goes to F sharp, B remains open. For our next chord shape, we go to open D, open B, and open E. The next shape, we add low C sharp on the 5th string and continue to play open B and open E. We go to C natural, again playing open B and open E. We go to a repeat chord shape, D, A, D. And with our 3rd finger free, we take low G and play open G and open B. So the entire section sounds like this. This entire section repeats. So if we pick up on the 3rd line of page 2, we have the only new material in the entire piece until we get to the last line. If you look at where we've left off on C sharp, we now go to C natural and our arpeggio changes to strings 5, 4, and 3, and we play C natural, D, and G. With our 2nd finger free, we take low F sharp on the 6th string. We add open D and A on the 3rd string. And we quickly move our 2nd finger to E on the 4th string. And now we play low E, E on the 4th string, and G. So we have this beginning at top of page 2. We then reprise by going back to the beginning of the piece, and we repeat the entire first phrase. We then repeat it again. On the last line and a half, we go back to this exact same material, and instead of stopping on this E, E, G arpeggio, we modify it. So the first time we play it, bottom of the page, E, E, G, strings 6, 4, 3. Then we alter it to go strings 6, 3, 2, E, G, B. Then we modify it to go strings 6, 2, 1, E, B, E. Then we add E on the 2nd string, 5th fret, and G on the high E string. And the last chord, we use our 1st finger as a guide. We travel up to the 7th fret, high B, add our 2nd finger on the 2nd string for G. So we have this. That should give you guidance to get through Andrew York's wonderful piece, Snowflight. Go slow and focus on how to connect from chord change to chord change. As you become more familiar and more comfortable, you're going to be able to pick up the tempo and the piece will flow all the way through. Look at how many sections have repetition to help you so that when you look at this piece at first and see a 2-page piece, you're not overwhelmed since so much of it is repetition.